The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
A very good evening, our viewers. We thank you for joining us this evening. It's yet another edition of the Hotline, where we discuss a number of issues within our motherland. It's of course a sad day that we've lost some important people in our country, especially the former ministers. It's really a cold Monday. We lost General Eli Tumwine. He was RO 023, I believe. And yes, he was among the 27 men that went to the bush with the 27 guns. And he will be always remembered for being the very, very first man who released the first bullet that sparked off the guerrilla war that brought the NRM government into power. And again, the country again lost another important man, senior citizen, that's in the names of Yona Kenyomos. He's a former minister for cooperatives during Obote times, and he also served as a member of parliament representing Uganda at the East African Legislative Assembly, and he has been a personal and close friend for the Alternative Digitalk family, and we shall dearly miss him. Well, that's our tonight's discussion. We'll be rotating on a number of things happening in our country, more so within the current affairs. We have had a number of things being said. Today, there was a state funeral at Independence Grounds in Kololo. That is following the death of General Eli Tumwine. And many people, the family and the president, the dignitaries, they were in attendance. And the General Eli Tumwine is expected to be laid tomorrow to his final resting place. And of course, the burial arrangement will be also released, is yet to be released out for the late former minister, Yona Kenyomos. Well, in the studios, I am not alone this evening. I have Ecological Party president in the studios. And of course, we'll be discussing a number of things. And one other important thing to note is that the president of the Ecological Party of Uganda, he is also an ex-soldier. So there is a lot we shall be discussing in that regard. And when we mourn as a country the death of General Eli Tumwine, there is a lot that we need to know about who is this gentleman, Eli Tumwine, a four-star general who lost his life in Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi. Being one of the gentlemen who fought for good governance, if you all remember the 10 points program that brought the NRM regime, the NRM government to power, one of the things they really emphasized on was the issue of healthy facilities in this country. It is so disappointing that a four-star general who sacrificed his life, who sacrificed himself to liberate this country, he died on a foreign land it's really absurd because he dedicated much of his time to ensure that Uganda gets much, much better. It is also rumored that at one point, when they wanted to fly him out of the country, he resisted. I was like, no, I should be taken to Mulago. That is, I'm saying it is rumored. We have not yet established the truth behind that. But today, when I was listening to the first lady, the widow, she at one point said that I'm forgetting this gentleman, Musime something, is the one who lured him to accept to be flown out of the country. Well, I want to give my guest an opportunity to say hi to our viewers and maybe get to know much about the Ecological Party. It's one of the parties that have been in existence, I think, since 2009, but little is really known about this political party. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. My name is Charles Bbaale, the president of Ecological Party of Uganda. But also, as he has said, I served with the late General Tumwin as my army commander, because he was our first army commander.
You're going to raise your voice a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm glad to be here today.
It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah.
Well, that's Mr. Bbaale Charles. One time you had interest to vie for presidents, I think in the last concluded general elections. What happened?
Well, actually, it was 2015, November 3rd. Okay. And first and foremost, but you know, I don't want to blame Electoral Commission, but you know that for the last set of elections, they always need 10 people, strictly.
What do you mean?
I don't know whether it's you can't, even the logistics they prepare is for 10 people. So it so happened that on 3rd November, when we are doing nominations, they kept changing goalposts. Like they say, okay, you come, bring 20 million.
But if you're talking
I'm talking about the
2016 elections.
2016.
Okay.
And then when you bring, they said, no, we don't want cash. Bring check. When you bring a check, no, that kind of stuff. That's where with in the same room with Charlie and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But of course, they had their own intentions and selections. And for the other 20, for the most recent elections, you remember that the Electoral Commission, on the Wednesday preceding the nominations, they released logistics for only 10 candidates. On Wednesday,
what do you mean logistics for 10 candidates?
Elections go beyond, there is planning.
Okay.
There is a number of candidates that they need. Actually, the information I have is that the Electoral Commission wanted 15 candidates. They were given money for 10. And if you do remember that even the 11th candidate, the Electoral Commission didn't have a vehicle for him. They had to get it from the field, from the Electoral Commission. That shows you that they already had planned, they had their numbers, their people, and kind of stuff. You remember that there were complaints, there's Dr. Nabatanzi and a number of people who were locked at the Electoral Commission since the Wednesday, since Tuesday of that week of nomination. I don't remember the dates, but they were there for about 3-4 days. You would go at the Electoral Commission at around 8, and you leave at 8 in the evening, and they would toss you around. But I don't want to go into that because really there are even some other people who did not qualify. They only got 33 districts. But somehow they said no, but some people are bigger than others.
So had you presented the 98 signatures required for each candidate?
Yes, we got 97. The last district was Luuka. Luuka was missing 4 people. We brought 250. For 3 days they refused to
But you had
verify.
duplicated names.
What do you mean duplicated?
Amongst the people who were supporting the candidate?
I don't know. This is how it works. When you have the required number that have not supported any other candidate, within that particular district, then you have the 100. I had 97. The 98th district was Luuka. It was missing 4 people in terms of verification. You submit 300 and they say, no, you only got 50 or 70. That's how it works. So when we brought the 250, they said, the system is down. But we had gotten intelligence information on Tuesday that the system is going to break down on the Thursday night, towards morning. And it indeed happened. And we told them, it indeed happened. Don't you think that was deliberate?
So,
but that's something for another day.
I am a bit concerned that the Ecological Party, an established political party since 2009, if I am not wrong, failed to beat the system, and the little known Katumba John, who was a fresh graduate, managed to beat the system, and then Ecological Party, which has been in existence since 2009, could not make it.
Did you break down the candidates per region, per what? There is a formula that, anyway, if we are to have, we need at least more than an hour to just discuss that. Because I've gone through it, I know what it means. But then, as for Katumba, like I told you, Katumba came in at the last hour. He didn't even they didn't expect him to go through.
The verification.
Yes, that's why I told you they had prepared 10 vehicles for only 10 candidates. So when he came back at the last minute, that's why he was stopped. Somehow we went, and then when he came in, they had to make last-minute decisions. They had to get one of the registrar's vehicles from the field. And that's why, if you look at how they were, whichever candidate would qualify, they would give him a vehicle and escorts and kind of stuff. The set for Katumba was not there. It was because they had not planned for it.
It was just
so they cut off. I don't know if you have those photos, but I can assure you that they came, but it was off record. Why? Because it was not planned for.
But later on, they had to improvise something.
Yes, of course, that's how they do it. And that's how it works. But then, right from the times of Chigundu, they only budget for 10 people.
Okay.
That is, it's like a policy. And even the Minister of Finance, this time they had requested for 15, logistics for 15 people, and guards and whatnot. But Minister of Finance gave them for 10, and under the circumstances, they had nothing to do. So they had to chip. And that's why Honorable Mao was almost out. But then there is no way you could have an elections which has, and Amuriat had come in, definitely. And we had these other people. And there is no way you could have an election without anyone from the north. So by hook or crook.
Under what law is that?
No. It's by
practice.
It's by practice. That's why by 11, Honorable Mao, by 5 on a Friday of nomination, by 3 on Friday of nominations, Honorable wasn't even aware that it's going to be a candidate, only to hear that. I'm sorry to talk about this, but we know what we went through. Then later on we say, but there is no way we can have an election without a representative from that region. And he was the only representative that came in. So he had to come in whether
he submitted what is required or not.
Whether they have verified all or not. So that's what I have to tell you. I think we better go to another topic. Because I'm not here to pin the Electoral Commission.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah. What's your title in Ecological Party?
I'm a party president.
Yes, I know, but His Excellency?
I'm the party president. So you call me whatever you want.
Well, there is a lot happening in the country.
Yeah.
Of course, what's happening in Kenya is something good for us as a country to pick a few leaves on our electoral system. But we need to start from home. Being that you're one of the people who were once defending this country, I mean, protecting the territories of Uganda. And now that you've lost one of your commanders, there is coldness, we want to believe, amongst all the soldiers for losing a general, one of the great singers we had as a country, one of great artists. How do you feel about this?
Well, first and foremost, it's a system. Whether we like it or not, at some point we have to go. Secondly, General Tumine is lucky that he did not die in the field. You understand? But it's also, it happens. For example, General Kazin, I'm sorry to refer.
No worries, it's fine.
He fought a lot of wars. But
Okay.
he succumbed to...
Iron hitting.
No. He was not a victim of a gun. You understand? We have the Cassidiers. Yes. He was a very good soldier. But, you understand? So it is okay. It is okay. For us, the way you enlist for, you enroll, and General was a commissioned officer. He would have died when he lost his eye, but he did not. So we forget that we all have to die at some point. But what we need to do is, of course, everyone has some good and bad. But we always remember, it's natural that we only remember the good that someone has done. He was our first
I thought
commander.
it's the opposite, that people always tend to remember the bad deeds of a deceased.
Of course, is not without fault.
Just like any other human being.
Yes, he's a human being. He was a general. He was good at intelligence, but a very bad administrator. I'm sorry to say that, but that is it. And he was not so lucky as an army commander. You know, when you're a military officer or an army commander like he was, there are people, and I can give you an example of General Saleh. General Saleh was also in that category.
Of the commanders who were not so lucky.
No, he was lucky. You know, when you go to a field to battle and then you lose so much. Some people don't have. You know, there is also luck in
that field.
In that field.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was not so lucky in terms of as a commander, as an army commander.
He wasn't
of
good.
This country. I won't say he wasn't good, but he was not so lucky. He was not very, very successful. That's what I have to say.
Okay.
But he's good like he was good at security mainly, and like external security and kind of stuff. Though he has his own personal setbacks, like as an individual, as the person of the late.
Yeah, but the undertones that are during his reign as the ESO boss,
Yeah.
the security, how do you call it? That spying
Network, external security.
Yeah, external
SOS,
security, yes. It slightly went down for the country. If you compare to how it was before he came into that office, the external security agents of this country was ranking a bit higher compared to when he came in. I don't know how true is that.
I might be hit on the head for saying this, but all in all, I have to say it because at any one time I would die, for example. But then, if you asked my own opinion, in terms of, I talked about the army commander part of it, but in terms of external security, by the time he became the Director General of External Security, Uganda was one of the top 3 external security agencies on the African continent. One of the best 3.
Okay.
Were even better than Rwanda. When he came in, like, that's why I said he's not a very good administrator. I think he brought in a lot of nepotism, especially embassies in missions in South Africa and Europe. So we went so down. It was like no longer like you are there for the job, but it's for technical know-how. And that brought down external security. I don't think it has recovered now because we are not now we are not even among the first 10. But we are the topmost 3 as at the time he assumed office as the Director General of what? External Security. External Security, yeah, ESO, yes. So, if I'm to talk about the legacy in ESO, he left a legacy of nepotism, and he brought
the whole agency down.
The institution. I'm not talking about the security in general, because as a Minister for Security, you are in charge of both internal and external. But particularly, especially for South Africa and the European missions, they were really, really down. I'm sorry to mention that, but that is, I'm expressing my views and my own opinion, and I'm entitled to that. Like, I can give you an example of Pulkol. Pulkol was also Director General of External Security. He's known for modernizing.
Pulkol came in after
Yes, he brought it in terms of IT. Well, he has his own personal issues as well, but he was very good at they set up the OPCOM. I can't go into the details, but projects like OPCOM, these are projects of what? Of Pulkol in terms of IT improvement. And we also had General Otafire. Yes, but I can talk about Otafire. Otafire is also very good in operations. Otafire, if he says I want, and that's actually the Bazirak reached a climax because Otafire was in charge of operations. So if it is in operations, though now he's in internal affairs, but if in terms of those security, whatever, is very, very good and very accurate. And he commits the resources that are allocated to him for that purpose. I don't know about the others. I don't know the current one. I don't know him. I don't know much about him. Masolo was professional. But those are the issues, the few issues I can talk about.
As an ex-soldier, what are some of the scores that were registered or that you could attribute to the legacy of General Eli Tumwine? No.
On the other, the person of Eli Tumwine was not a very good administrator. But the good thing is that he was reigning over an army which was so loved. By the time we were child soldiers, we are so loved. And by the time his office was at, now there is Bulange, that is where it was, Republic House.
Yes.
I remember him moving in his cross-country. He had the driver called the Kavuyo. And then also, he was like that flamboyant Tumwine. But the only setbacks he got during that time is when we had that war in the Lakwena and that kind of stuff in the north.
Yeah.
Remember at that time, Tinyefunza was also in charge of our operations there. Tinyefunza, if you are going for battle, he would get a lorry of sticks. So if you are an officer, a lieutenant, and you lose a soldier, you disappear. So that is the time. Well, but the money was there. There was a lot of money in defense and kind of stuff.
You served in the army for how many years?
15 years. But I started at the age of 10.
Huh?
Yeah, it happens, please. It happens, and I can give you some of the people. Actually,
you were the Kadogos
if we were recruited by Major Bogere. He was a major for more than 20 years. Bogere was from political school, because when this NRA came in, they had a program of mentoring future leaders, future technicians, future doctors, and kind of stuff. So they would pick those Kadogos and they identify your talent. They were doing that, and we are placed under Bogere. By that time, our offices were where there is Tasso in Tebe. That's where we had our first political school. So I joined as a political cadre. But at that whatever. Yeah. I remember there was Sergeant Mugisha who he's the one who recruited me into the whatever. When we were having that course, he said, but you are too young. At one time he chased me. So when he chased me, they sent me to 19th Battalion was in Rubiri and 1st Battalion. So they took me, and then we formed the 1st Military Police Unit, which was under 101 at Luzira. The one that is, we are the first people to guard that Luzira, that kind of stuff, because we were trained that kind of stuff. When I had just left the political school. But then after that, I was sent back.
And which year was that?
88, 89.
Well, thank you so much. That's the party president for the Ecological Party of Uganda, Mr. Charles Bbaale. I think there is a lot to learn from him. We've also been joined by Mr. Namakajjo Derrick. He is the legal secretary for the Justice Forum, a party commonly known as JEEMA. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tiff, and I'm also privileged to be hosted by the Digitalk.
Yeah.
You know, this generation is a really digital generation, so we can't forget the fact that we need also to go digital. So I salute all the viewers who are really following Digitalk hotline, and also all the statesmen and stateswomen, patriots, those with love for loving our country, Uganda. This is the part of Africa. I believe my dad, Bbaale, could really even tell us where the word part of Africa came from, and really when, by the time he joined also the army, the meaning was still the same. But anyway, I salute the viewers for being on.
Well, thank you so much. Mr. Derrick, Mr. Namakajjo, before you came in, we're trying to look at a number of things happening. We lost a general as a country, and that's absurd for Uganda as a country. And amidst that, we have also had mixed reactions from the public. Others trying to express their satisfaction, let me say, for having lost a general, which is absurd. And of course, others feeling that grief, the pain, because of losing a dear one. That's, you know, it's natural, it's part of us. Okay. And being one of the legal secretary for a political party, what would you tell us about General Elliot Mwine?
At first, you've talked about Uganda is mourning. Uganda has lost a general, right? A foster general. The same person you've said that the public is having mixed reactions. I don't know which kind of mixed reactions are they regarding with mourning and happy and enjoying and celebrating. So you will tell us the meaning of mixed reactions.
Well, let me guide. There is a section of Ugandans who are actually excited about this. Like, the general also dies. You know, this is attributed to some of the statements he used to utter during his time.
And that's the direct statement I wanted from you. You know, when we start saying mixed reactions, viewers might not understand which kind of mixed reactions. But if you are to be direct, yes, we have witnessed that some Ugandans are rejoicing, others are mourning. But speaking on one on humanity ground, we need to first appreciate the principles we follow, because the Constitution itself, when you go into the laws, everyone has a right to profess a religion of his or her choice, and the religions we profess or we have our faith attached to, they have principles. One of the principles in the Bible, and which almost is the second commandment, come to the New Testament, is love your neighbor as you love yourself. And here, your neighbor also entails the family of the late. And when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about only the public, but also maybe to the late. May his soul rest in peace. That we ought to love each other as we love ourselves. So regardless of all what happened on the Christianity belief or the religious side, I really feel heartened. And it is so hurting to see the public rejoicing for the fallen general. That's one. And but also we need to be straightforward and clear. A person says that, we usually say that he or she shall be remembered by the deeds he or she has done before his demise, right? So that's why I usually say that what you do contributes to where you're heading in the rear after. Meaning that if you're to go to Jannah or Jahannam, depends on what you've done, the life you've worked for. What you've worked for. So we are not in proper shoes to judge, but we believe that if at all the general lived a really good life and with good conducts and whatever, I will pray that really reaches the place of eternity and that he rests in peace. However, one of the signs that show you that in front there is an accident ahead, that there is some accident that has happened. Usually, we the drivers know that there has to be a signpost of accident ahead, right? And in this particular instance, that whenever we lose a dear one or whenever a person dies, there's first signs we see, and you start asking yourself, okay, I'm not a judge, but is this person going to heaven or is going to Jahannam? So whenever you start seeing some people rejoicing over deaths of someone, that is not a good sign, I should say. It is not a good sign, and as such, I will call upon every person to come and intercede for our general. We need at least to find our general in paradise, living a good life the hereafter. So the signs, the people rejoicing, it is something that it is signaling something. The first general I know, the early Tumwina I know, I happen to be a friend to some of his daughters. Before I go into the person of the general, I would wish to first talk about the person of Eli Tumwina as a person. Before him becoming a soldier,
he was a person.
He was a person
called Eli Tumwine.
Called Eli Tumwine, a civilian born in Remitoma, Kazo, and he had to live his life as a person, as a civilian. Throughout perhaps all the regimes that came by, the Obotes, the Amin, he was a person. And perhaps we don't know, but people who lived by then could say that maybe also featured in some of the debates like the Chimezas. We are here, but you never know he was one of the people who used to sit on the Chimezas, condoning some of the people in the current governments of the Obotes, of the Amin. But one thing I have to say and confess that at least he was a father. Before everything, Eli Tumwine was a father. When I talk about a father, I'm not referring to people who give birth and they take off. Eli Tumwine loved his family. Eli Tumwine loved his children. Eli Tumwine loved his grandchildren. He had that love, that attachment to the children. So we should say that at least he was at least an example and a living example to the gents, to the males, that at least be a good father. So if at least you want to get to know to be a good father, refer to Eli Tumwine as a person. For the general, all of us, we know that Eli Tumwine is the hope and the starting point of Mr. Museveni being in power. Eli Tumwine, in history, we say that, we remember that on 16th February, Papa will correct us, on 6th February, is the gentleman who fired the first shot at Kabamba. What does it mean that if we fire the first shot at Kabamba barracks, and right now that bullet made Mr. Museveni to stay in power for almost now approximately... Let us to where we are. Yes, approximately 40 years. that means that Mr. Museveni is not Mr. Museveni of now minus the general, Eli Tumwine. So that is the person we are talking about. That is, we are talking about the NRA person in entirety. This is a person who almost is second to Mr. Museveni. If we are to be realistic in UPDF, he was almost second to Mr. Museveni. The next official here, I mean, whatever will tell us.
But given to his numbers being 023, he was somewhere distant.
Distant, but when I refer you to some laws now written, when I send you to the UPDF Act, and when you are to start with section 15, 1C, which establishes the High Command of by 1986.
Yeah, where he has been a member.
Where he has been a member. And the chairperson is Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And people who constitute it not limited to the Minister of Defense, of course, and people who made up the High Command by then. There are 6 people. And the same law takes you to a given schedule within the UPDF Act, which is Schedule 3. And Schedule 3 gives you 6 people. Number 1 is Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And who shall be the second in command? Eli Tumwine. Follows Mr. Museveni as per the schedule. We have Salim Saleh akandwa naho. Number 3, Caleb. I don't know the right name. I don't know whether it's George Kalibu Akandwaho. So those are 2 different people. But the other one talks about our Muslim general, who is Salim Saleh. The 4th person we have the general Tinyefunza, and also we have I don't know whether even is still an ambassador in Burundi. Or is he still an ambassador? The General Matayo Chaligonza is one of he makes up a high command. So when we are talking about high command, it needs an officer of a high-ranking office or a high-ranking officer to tell us what are the duties of the high command as of now. Because for us, what we understand is the Eli Tumwine the General Eli Tumwine we are talking about is a person who constitutes the high command.
Thank you so much. I think the EPU president has something to say in that regard.
Yeah, maybe what I want to correct is high command maybe is a historical member of the high command. The 6 that you're talking about. Because the high command has a bigger composition. You are talking about the perspective, the legal perspective, but I also know the military perspective of it. That, for example, it has all the chief of defense. He has the chief of the commander in chief, yeah, the chief of defense forces, the chief of this other whatever, Air Force, whatever, yes. And the division commanders, all those are members of the what? Exactly. Of the high command and the city. But of course, you're right, he's the historical high command. Exactly. The historical, the 6 year, that I agree. But as at 89, it was. Yes, as the law says, we shall go 86. But you know the ranks were introduced in 89, and they were not as big as like now, because we had junior officer, like a second lieutenant was junior officer class 2, junior officer class 1, junior officer, then a senior officer, and then member of the high command. That's how short it was. And as of then, he was second to the chief. That's why I said that General Tumwine has not been lucky, because one, he was seen as one of the most loyal general to General Museveni that existed until when he died. But along the way, they had some split, especially when he was resigning? I think it was retiring. When he said that it's high time they get into the discussion of
handing over power.
But it did not start now. It started way back after elections. The retirement, he retired in May, around 16th of 2022. But of course, but that is their business, in fact. But what I'm saying is that we looked at General Eli Tumwine as the next potential commander-in-chief. And with all the confidence, you'd look at, and no. In case of anything, Tumwine is. There's a time we thought that General Tenyefunza would be, but things changed.
What are always your parameters to think and zero on someone that maybe it could be Derrick, it could be so and so?
No. But the level of loyalty or perceived loyalty, I think that's the right word. The level of perceived loyalty to the commander-in-chief with Tumwine compared to other people was. I'm not saying that others are not loyal. Yes. But there are those people who want to show that they are loyal. Do you understand? And there are other people who have good leaders.
My party president, there's somewhere where he has given examples, two live examples. At one point in time, they thought Eli Tumwine could really take over or could be. I've also said General Tenyefunza could be. So should we have that kind of conclusion that perhaps these other generals besides Mr. Museveni are unlucky? Because it seems that it is not only Eli Tumwine, but also the Tenyefunzas. All they are lucky, but they are made to be unlucky by someone.
No, what I wanted to say is that he's so unlucky that he died before testing the perceived seat of many people used to say that Echintu Chawe. You understand? It's their thing. And it is indeed their thing. If it is like, but you also mentioned that he was, but as a lawyer wouldn't have said that. He's perceived to all, as we are told that he fired the first bullet. But no. That's what we are told. Yes, that's what we are told.
And as a lawyer, when I read literature, literature is one of the standing evidence we have.
Yes.
And if you have to go back in various books, even the mustard seed, whereby we have the author himself.
It has, yes.
The original version. For us, we know the original version. We don't know the version.
What I'm saying,
it says the gentleman fired the first shot.
We are told that he fired because we weren't there, including me. You understand? So we take it as that, as that.
And the authors were there anyway.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. You see, this whole conversation of there is a lot we can actually delve into when we are discussing a Foster General. There is one thing within the public domain. This is a general who, whenever one tries to express any sort of a dissatisfaction, maybe in regards to the statements, his conduct, and is one person who could always say, you see, I fought, I liberated this country, and I lost my arm. Yes,
that sense of ownership of this country is the bad side of these people. He was not alone. The Muwezis were also there. The judges, but that sense of ownership, like, I think it is rude. I'm sorry, but I don't. I watched something, a clip of UTV, of UBC, on social media. If at all it is true, that is madness for someone to say that, hey, someone was asking for a helicopter. It's even police is requesting for money to buy an helicopter. Yeah, for its operations, you understand? And of course, the speaker also wanted one. I don't know what happened. You understand? But I found it ridiculous, if at all it is true, that someone during that funeral or whatever said, no, we should buy. I just hope it's not true. But if it is true, that is madness of the highest order. That we should buy a helicopter to take the widow or something to. It is. I have it somewhere here. Someone sent it
To take the widow to
the farm. I mean, I think if we are to go by that, the first lady would be the first person to ask for a helicopter, but she has not. So how can someone in protocol? How can someone else demand for a helicopter if it was true? But I believe it's not true, because.
Well, thank you so much. You see, there is a lot that happens, and of course, when someone chooses to go to the bush, if you look at what transpired at that time, and you see, the whole thing started after the 1980 elections, but it was slightly before, and these plans were there that at one point, actually, they were sparked off. The 1980 elections was just a spark, something to the Baganda call it a chekwaso.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, something that you just wait for something to happen. Like, no, let's use this as the route to to do this. But normally they say that a war has two sides. The one who kills more becomes victorious.
Of course.
And I always ask myself, yes, it's unfortunate the general lost his eye. How many people did the general kill during that time? And how would those people be feeling? I think this whole conversation now does not even add up to what we need to do is just to pray for the deceased, to just like Council Namakajjo said, to have that eternal life.
But also as we pray for the deceased, let us also remember to pray for those who was part in taking their lives. I personally come from Luwero district. Specifically Bamnanika constituent. At times when we were growing up, you could be farming or digging and you come across a skeleton at a tender age. A skull, meaning that even there are still the remains of some other people. When you go back to a village, you start, you get, if you are to dig deep in history, they start judging you how some elders on our village passed on. But by who? So they wouldn't have passed on if maybe the so-called liberators didn't engage in war. Because really, if the reasons of the NRM war, revolution as they could deem it, or liberation, are the same reasons we are having at hand. So if we could opt to also go back to the bush, and overseas, we know that Kampala, there is no bush like how it used to be the other time. Wakiso, there is no bush like how it used to be. Luwero, Kabamba is which district? Hoima.
It's now Chikube.
Now Chikube. Yeah. So if you have to decide to go back, there is no bush. And I assure you right now, at least the bush we could have it is the bush you can find it in JEEMA, in Kazo, in Kamwenge. We have some good bush there. So if you were to go back to bush because there is too much rigging of votes, I assure you can only take it back to Kazo also. So that we can start our war from that side and we come and take over the government. So, but let also them ask themselves that if you are to go back to Kazo in the bush and fight, how many people are we going to kill from Kazo under the name of liberating back here? So that means that as we pray for the first general to rest in peace, we also have to pray for the families. I mean, to those people who really lost their lives under the disguised liberation by some people, to really rest in eternal peace. That is the best thing we can do.
This whole thing, I think, it's a strong signal to office bearers at whatever rank. You know, today I was watching the children of the late general. It was an emotional moment. And then hearing the children speak about their dad, and then you relate with what the public is saying. And one child had to say, those who are jubilating, you're also going to die.
Of course.
I think whoever is occupying that office, you should always think of your children, the people you're leaving behind. Because for you, at one point, it's like you're really not so much involved in whatever you're doing. These children are not part of that. But when such insults come through, there is a way they are hurting to those children. they leave a long-lasting mark that our fathers died, and instead of people feeling sorry for that, they're like, there is a way to live.
But sometimes it's the truth.
Yes,
there is that silent majority
yes,
that cannot say anything.
Yes,
they feel like.
Mr. Bbaale, my point here is, I think the leaders, they should always think of that moment, that whatever I do, just try to make sure that such a moment does not arise.
Mr. Tiff, what I could supplement on that, you see, you're relating fairly good to the children of the late.
Yes.
But I would say that the people who are doing, the office bearers who are doing so, they are not hurting the children. I would be in position to say that they are destroying the nation. Hurting their children, I would say, let me also use that, let me go that way. I don't care whether they're hurting their children, because the Bible says that a child cannot ask a bread from the father and he or she is given stone. So if the father could decide to hurt the children, whom am I to feel sorry for the children? But I'm too really grieved that our nation is being destroyed. An example, the children now of the late, I doubt if at all, God forbid, today they declare an icon now from opposition that has passed on. You think they are going to feel sorry? They are going to jubilate. Oh, you are the people who are jubilating for the passing on of the father. But at that time, you can't even think of the reasons as to why people were jubilating. What we don't want to go. Those are nitty-gritties now. But okay, so God forbid, message has passed on. They will jubilate. They will not have the other hatred. That means that we are trying, indirectly, we are trying to change the sense of humanity, the Ubuntu. We are killing the Ubuntu, the sense of humanity we are supposed to have. What befalls your neighbor really has to affect you. So instead of sending condolences message, we shall be now sending jubilating messages. So if this thing goes on, we are doomed to enter a dooming dynasty by time to come. Of recent, I've seen another icon also saying, okay, you Ibrahim Semuju, you reject, but you also die. So that is the kind of Uganda now we are heading into.
The children to say it, those jubilating, you're also going to die.
The children have cited, a government official has cited. Of course, we know that everyone has to die. Yeah, it's but the heart, the seed, the spirit we're nurturing, we're instilling into these people. I'm just feeling sorry for us, the youth who are going to take over mantle years to come, because we have started fighting to take over the mantle. And also the children we're giving birth to, they are going to grow up into the spirit of, if a person has died, it is normal. That means that even a person could go, because of the hatred the person gets, could start even killing minus even asking about
Thank you.
Anything.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have to break off very shortly, and then the hotline show will have to continue. But I think the entire nation, we should just get off that notion of jubilating when people have lost lives, because whatever we say, it has a long-lasting impact on the lives of those people who have lost their dear ones. Well, let's break off, and when we return, the hotline show will continue.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Digitalk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 weyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digitalk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Well, thank you so much and welcome back from that short break. And we have to continue with our discussion, which is just looking at a number of things as they do happen within our country and, of course, the entire region. The two gentlemen in the studios, they do hail from different political groupings. And the biggest question would be, each political party, I want to believe, has an aspiration of taking over power. And having JEEMA here and the party president of the Ecological Party, one would ask, what are you up to and how far have you gone in the quest to have power? I want to start with the president himself.
Of course, as you are well aware, just at a time when people said, you can't challenge General Museveni, we disproved people. We tried that.
How?
Of course, first and foremost, the mere fact that you register a political party as a former serving officer of the army is treasonable enough. If by yes, but by that time it was like, how do you do? It was like, remember at one time we were all in the movement system.
By default.
By default.
But of course people had different political thinking.
But you have to be there whether you like it or not, believe it or not. But we reached a time, when you see this Ecological Party was registered in
2009, yes.
But it did not start in 2009. We are one of the first 12 parties, to register parties even before. Of course, NRM registered in 2003. But we had the National People's Organization, which was registered on 28th in 2004, together with the Republican, the Nambias, and kind of stuff. Remember DP and I think FDC or something like that, and UPC had refused to register. They had refused to register. They registered actually, I think, either 2005 or something like that, or beyond. NRM was, but even before that, we are part of the people who pushed this government to go into multipartyism. We sat with government, with the Saddam Gairas, the Crispus Chionga, Raphael Baku, Alice Muanguzi, in Fairway for 6 months.
Consecutively?
Consecutively. Okay, we had
you could
3
break
days.
Off the, yeah,
3 days, whatever. To push to make this government accept to move from the movement system to multi-party, whatever. So we said an MOA, and then later on, we decided that we have to go for the referendum. You went for the referendum, but I don't know where it came from.
But the referendum, the referendum you're talking about came up after when Paulo Kawanga Semogerere took government to court for not actually...
You are mistaken. You are mistaken. There was a government white paper that it started in, I'm telling you, we are sitting in 2004 at Fairway Hotel, pushing government, and government delegation was led by Crispus Chionga. And on their team, they had the Raphael Baku, the Alice Muanguzis, those are the people who were around, with whom we are sitting. By that time, they used to call us political forces. We didn't matter, but then at the end of that day, we pushed government. Actually, some people were even organized. Opposed to multipartyism. They said, no, we should stay in the movement and kind of stuff. General Tafira was one of them. He never wanted this multipartyism and kind of stuff. So we made government to reconsider that. That's why now they had to change what was the NRM secretariat to turn into a political party. So we collected the signatures for registering NRM. And in
so you were part of NRM by then?
Yes.
Okay.
I was with Stephen Kavuma. If you go at that original that original list of the first, I'm one of the first 1,000
members of the
NRM. But after that, I looked at the constitution of NRM. I told Justice Kavuma, he was then, because he was one of the teams that made that constitution of NRM, that we've mobilized for NRM. That was 2003, 2000. I've done my part. I'm quitting NRM, and that's when I quit. After collecting signatures,
Justice Kavuma left NRM.
No.
I
was a personal assistant by that time.
Okay.
So we collected the signatures for the first.
Who made the other statement?
Eh?
Who made that statement?
Which one?
It's him.
It's you.
Yeah, it's him.
Yes, I told him we've worked for NRM. I'm stopping here, and we are forming a party.
Was it so difficult for you to bring in your changes, your views, so that the constitution?
No, I looked at the constitution and I had no place. You know, if you look at the original, and I have a copy of the original NRM when it was registered as NRMO. If it found you at that level of a member of parliament, the chances were that it's hard to go down. But if it found you as a youth at LC1, it was so difficult in that original constitution for you to move.
To rise up.
Yes, I had no room.
It's me who allowed, it's only me allowed to ask questions.
I'm not asking a question, but I'm sorry, but you see, when you're listening to an elder, At times you're intrigued. I just want to inquire whether it is one of the reasons as to why the LOC ones had to take like almost 35 years minus we electing new officers.
So there is a lot. So I saw I had no room in NRM.
No, but my question here is, what were your expectations? Doing all that, traversing the country, what were you...
To understand that, you need to know my background. Even when we are joining the army, we are groomed to be political leaders of this country.
So you wanted to be made the vice chairperson?
No. But
so what were you expecting?
They recruited us in the system just to do that. We chose, I had my friend Odul, I don't know what his rank is, I don't know whether he's still alive. For me, he was very good at technical, and he was groomed. I know of a doctor, I think he has now a master's. By that time, he didn't even have a certificate, but he was groomed by this system. This system, the original system that General whatever was passionate about, the late General was passionate about, had very good intentions for this country. But all of a sudden, they swerved off the road.
Mr. Bbaale, before I bring in Namakajjo, I am being forced to believe that you had to run away, break off from the NRM just because you did not have a position at the time.
No.
Maybe the constitution did not give you room to rise to a position that you would have in mind. You had in mind.
I said I quit because I had no future in NRM. That's what I said.
But you were part of the team that...
we are groomed to be politicians. Way back, I told you I joined when I was as a kid. And we grew up through the system, all the training, even going to school. We would go, let me give you an example. I would wake up, for example, let me talk about the secondary part of it. I would wake up, go to school. You know, by that time, there were two systems. The lower levels would start up to noon, and then there is the afternoon. So I would wake up in the morning as a civilian, put my uniform in the bag, go to Nakasero Secondary, you understand? I go to Nakasero Secondary, I enter into the toilet, when it was still where there's a equatorial. You go into the toilet, you put on school uniform, because Joyce Male was our headmistress, was so strict. So, but you go.
Are you talking of Kololo Secondary or Nakasero Secondary?
No, I'm talking of Nakasero Secondary. She was once a leader of Nakasero Secondary.
Okay.
Because I got that school, actually, this pastor, Kakande, found me on the street and told me, you man, you have to go back to school. He directed James Male, Joy Male, the one who was also at one time a lead of principal of Gayaza, whatever. Take back that guy to school. So she got me a place at Nakasero Secondary, where there is post office, the hotel, Post Bank. That's where there was Nakasero Secondary. Before it shifted to some other place. By that time, Joy Male was the headmistress. So I would go into, I come in civilian, I go to the toilet, I put on uniform, I go to class at 11:45, I move, I go to the toilet, I put on civilian, I go to, you know where the speak resort is? Mm-hmm. That's where there was our first Marine unit. It was called 79 Battalion Marines.
Opposite Sheraton?
Yes. Opposite what?
Sheraton Hotel.
Sheraton. No, I'm talking about Speak Munyonyo.
Oh, Munyonyo.
Yes.
I thought
you know that vacant where there is signpost for Aga Khan. That's where the Marine was. So I would move to, by that time I was in Marines, and in Marines I was in stores, logistics. Then I go, quarter guard, I put on uniform, I go to the store up to 5, from 5, now I go home. I was staying with Captain Uta in Zana. The one person...
In which class were you by then?
The time I served in Munyonyo, I was in senior 3.
But you already had an office as in logistics and all that?
You know, like I told you, the NRM, the NRA system would had room for each and every one. You would even get, because we went for political cadreship training in Entebbe, then in Lubiri. I did intermediate course, School of Political Education, where there's Lubiri High in Lubiri. That is our political school for the first division. I was supposed to go to Libya. They swapped and they changed someone. I protested. A lot of things have happened. But so I went back to Marines. From Marines, then there was this Lakwena whatever.
In Eastern Uganda?
We
no,
went
Northern Uganda.
Yes, for that Lakwena insurgency. And then when we stopped Lakwena, I think then there was a conflict between Uganda and Kenya. Yes, there was around Tororo, something like that. And by that time we were still at Republic House. It was still under General Tumwine. So one time, if you can give me just 2 more minutes, because
no, use one.
Okay.
I want to bring in this man.
Okay. Maybe I will, because 1 minute is not enough. Let's go. I was going to tell you an interesting story.
But please, no, it's okay.
So when we went, during the conflict with Uganda and Kenya, I were sent to bring logistics from Republic House. We had a lorry. So I went, we would pack money, boxes and boxes, there was money by that time. And I was so young and naive, I would only buy jeans and biscuits. I didn't even know the use of money because I was having every time I get a bundle. So when we went, the president had directed that nobody, people were demonstrating. So the president gave a directive that nobody should fire blade. And if anyone fired a blade, should be what?
Executed.
Executed.
Oh.
So me, I come from Utro zone with the majors, the late Segawa. I going to collect logistics from Republic House. Now, as we leave Republic House, we have a lorry full of money, boxes of money. We going down Blue Room towards Chikubo. We find civilians what? Remember, my duty is to guard the money, and we're only 2 kadogos at the back guarding all that money. So as they demonstrate, the buyers start climbing the curve. I said, no. I fired. Of course, I didn't even know about the order. I was saved by the late Kasirinji. I think
Kasirinji,
yes. Kano, it was Kano Kasirinji. So, military come. They sent military police, two vehicles.
To come for you.
To come for me. They pulled me out of the truck. I fell down. I almost broke my ribs there for my UTC and that kind of stuff. So, but Kasirinji comes in his Santana. He said, what is happening? The guy who was in charge of military police was a lieutenant. The other one is a colonel. So he came, hey, what happened? He said, why did you? He came, he grabbed me from the military police guys. He put me in his vehicle. That's how I was saved. Okay, I left my gun on the car, but I was supposed to be executed at that time. So Kasirinji saved my life. He took me. I went, when we reached the Electoral Commission, he dropped me there. He said, you go back to your unit. That's how I was saved.
Well, I think we'll come back to you and you tell us how far you've moved as a party from 2009 to date. What efforts have you put in place to convince Ugandans that, yes, Ecological Party is the party that will lead Uganda to the promised land? I want to cross to JEEMA. JEEMA is like this stunted kid. You've been in place since 2004, I think. That's when you've been in place. But we do not see much coming from you. You are like that kid who has been fed well on milk, but the kid has failed to really... What's happening?
Good enough. The last word has you have failed to get the last word to describe how best a kid has failed. But I believe to most of the politicians, know JEEMA. To many politicians know Justice Forum. to many leaders know the impact of Justice Forum to the political field and gymnastics and achievement of politics in Uganda. Perhaps what you could say is that public maybe might not be certain about JEEMA. JEEMA, when we came in play in 2004, and by then, as Mr. Asman Basare was still even younger compared to how he is now, was one of the persons who head to the Electoral Commission to have the Justice Forum registered. And we have seen very many tremendous achievements that we have clicked on as JEEMA, and we are still getting more or vying for more. Those who could be asking what JEEMA really has done, first and foremost, the Justice Forum or JEEMA parties are situated at Mengo. That is where our offices are. And besides having the idea, or not even the idea, but besides having the goal of taking over power, we are interested in transitioning the country. That is the main agenda. We have the agenda of taking over power, but with the intention and goal of transitioning, impacting the nation positively. What I'm referring to here is that we don't need, a country which almost is ranked to be in the least developing countries. A country which falls into the indebted, the highly indebted poorest countries. When I talk about the highly indebted poorest countries, these are the countries that even once around 2001, Uganda is one of the countries that gotten a privilege of being forgiven of their debt, that the debt Uganda is having really is alarming. So we need to put those countries with this which are alarming into a category known as highly indebted countries. So that is not what we want as JEEMA. What we want as JEEMA is a well-running, shaped country politically, economically, socially, and culturally. What proves you that is the acronym JEEMA. Most people know the meaning of JEEMA. And if I'm telling you the achievements of JEEMA, I take you back to the acronym. When you talk about JEEMA, we're talking about J, which is justice. JEEMA has proven to render justice. JEEMA has proven to show that we need justice. I believe JEEMA is the only political party which has recruited and which has recruited young people even before joining universities, and it has seen them being nurtured, or it has nurtured them into standing lawyers. JEEMA is one of the political parties, or the only political parties with the biggest number of lawyers, young lawyers, not the senior lawyers, but the young lawyers. And to make this happen, this needs patience. That is key. An example, a law course is of 5 years. So having it happen, you have to plan, meaning that this was planned like in 2010 to have at least every year from 2016 nurturing lawyers. So having young lawyers who are being nurtured and being patriotic, it is one of the steps of ensuring that we need to take over power. How? You know, Mr. Museveni is a wise muzei, a wise gentleman, who will say that now these people, they need to be ruled by way of a dictatorial form, but masking behind the law. So it is really very difficult to charge Mr. Museveni of being a dictator. Very, very difficult. This is a person who is within the law. He will have to put the law before you, then he does what he has to do. So by training and nurturing lawyers, we are trying to use these lawyers who are ours, because yes, political parties have no standing resources. So use what you have, and we have the human resource. Use what you have to get to know what is there within the law so that we can rectify. And I believe we are in capacity to summon, I head the entire department of the legal department of JEEMA. I'm in capacity to summon almost 90 over young lawyers we have in the party. And we say, what do we need? What do we need to do when it comes to justice? As of now, I believe, I don't want to say this but I take it as a privilege, and that is really an achievement even to JEEMA. Some other people might see it as a petty issue, but one of the political icons we have to accept, one of the architects of political democracy and political rule of law in Uganda is Dr. Kizza Besigye. I believe that is not that doesn't need to be put on question, as it is the case in Kenya. One of the political architectures of political democracy is Raila Odinga in Kenya. I've been telling people that whether he becomes a president or no, to me has served as a president to me, because he has made rule of law politically and political democracy in Kenya transform. The same with Kizza Besigye. So of recent, now almost 2 years, I'm one of the Kizza Besigye's lawyers. And why I'm saying so is try to inspire young lawyers. I'm still young, and I'm proud to say that I'm still young. I'm just approaching my 30s. So if within my years I could be part of such people, meaning that I'm not that because of Derrick, I'm that because of JEEMA. So that is rendering justice.
How is that leading you to? Because maybe I'm looking at those physical interventions, those practical interventions put in place
exactly
to elevate the status of JEEMA as a party, and then maybe perhaps as a country, like, no, we should be looking at it like these are the this is the next government.
You know, this is the problem that most political parties are facing, and people understand that a progressive political party is a party you're going to see every time talking to the people on ground. I've found this challenging and kind of complex to understand and to dissect. For you to see JEEMA, you have to first see a big crowd of people in Kampala. You have to first see a big crowd of whatever.
Not only seeing a crowd, we want to see you in parliament, we want to see you.
This is where I'm coming. This is where I'm coming. To show you that we're eyeing for the best, we need to transform Uganda. Remember, I said that we don't only need to take over power, but we need to try to make Uganda, we need to put that transition. And when you talk about the transition, we are not only considering the political power of transition. We're considering about how best and better a Ugandan can live in the country. And showing you that, one, summarily, is having lawyers on board, it is helping you to promote justice. That is one. And in promoting justice, you're trying to show people that, wait, this is what JEEMA will do. We shall not come into crowd telling you that this and no, let us talk this. You very well know
established a legal wing that offers pro bono services.
A legal wing. Okay. If any person can come and approach the JEEMA offices for legal services within our capacity, we shall render that, because we have human resource capacity. Okay. Economically, we might be having, as of now, one member of parliament who is
I've given you much time because I want to critically hear.
I'm on this now. The parliament has existed for over years, and we have had so far Honorable Hussein Chanjo in parliament for 2 terms, and as of now we are having our party president, who is Asman Basari, as the MP, current MP. Many people, most of the mainstream media and other journalists, ask, why is it that every time, JEEMA, you're having one person, one member of parliament? How come that every time? Is it that you don't have capacity? The issue we have to first appreciate is it only a member of parliament who is contributing to the transition of a given political party? That is a question we have to first ask ourselves. Or have we historically seen that to have a transition from one political party, I mean from this ruling government to another, what has the parliament played in that particular given role? I don't know whether I get my point clearly.
Yes, I do.
This is the mentality we are having, that a political party, to be strong, you have to be the leading opposition. or you have to be having a good number of members of parliament. Taking you back slightly, 1962, even 1961, the first elections, that saw DP becoming the leader of opposition, and was it UPS and KY becoming the government business. Everyone thought that DP at one point in a time will have to take over power. But if I may ask, that it was once the first leader of opposition, has it ever gotten power in Uganda?
Well, I get your point very, very well, and I believe that our viewers do as well. My question, before I get back to the president of the Ecological Party, I do not know what kind of legacy you're leaving behind as a party. You had Honorable Hussein Chanjo. He was very, very good legislator of his time. No doubt and no questions on that. You have Honorable Basalirwa, who has equally made the attempts to be, to follow the footsteps of Honorable Hussein Chanjo. But my question is, what legacy are you leaving behind that if we have Honorable Hussein Chanjo, when he leaves his office, there is no replacement of him. There is no one nurtured behind to take over what he hasn't done. And I want to believe that even Basalirwa, when he leaves, he ceases being a member of parliament for Bujiri municipality, chances are so minimal that you'll have another member of parliament from JEEMA.
What the legacy we've left behind, one has to be mindset. One is mindset. When I talk about mindset, does it necessarily mean that if Hussein Chanjo was the member of parliament by then for Machindye, when he or she retires, we have to get another member of parliament within Machindye from JEEMA specifically. When these people are electing, we elect the best. Politics is not all about mainly, in the first instance, political parties. But first get the best, the person that or she will serve. When Hussein Chanjo retired, every person thought that again JEEMA is going to have a member of parliament from Machindye. But surprisingly, we got one from Bujiri. What does it mean that the message of JEEMA was disseminated from Machindye, where Hussein Chanjo hails, to the land of Bujiri, where Busoga comes from? That means that there is kind of moving of preach the gospel.
I don't know where that speed will lead us to the promised
land. But briefly,
if you had a member of parliament in Machindye, and then out of the 120 districts, the message again, it goes to Bujiri.
What is the promised land you're referring to?
We need to see. Want to see another government, maybe like you promising us.
Led by JEEMA.
Yes, want to see.
And that's why I put it back to the public. That have you ever seen any transition taking place and Parliament has played a big role? Of recent, in 1960s, somewhat whatever, when we saw the Parliament, it was too strong by then, but even it didn't do anything. It is by the time, by 1966, when we had the pigeonhole constitution. The constitution was, we saw how it came in place, but we had parliament. So the question is, is the only way we have, is it that it is only vested in the parliament to ensure that there is transition from one political party or from the ruling political party to the other? And if so, then let all political parties invest their resources to parliament.
Thank you so much.
But if not so, let us think of other ways that, in most circumstances, the public has to get to know that the power is vested in them to ensure the transition, not through being represented, but back to the people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Namakajjo. Your Excellency, sir, the legal secretary from JEEMA is trying to make us believe that Parliament has a very, very minimal input in
ensuring there is transition from one government party to the other.
And now, I want to understand this clearly. As the Ecological Party of Uganda, he has told us they have set up a legal team, blah, blah. And now, what is happening there? At times we are forced to believe that the Ecological Party and these other parties, it's a creation of the system.
Well, people are entitled to their opinions, and opinion is the cheapest commodity on planet Earth, that even the poorest of the poor can
will have an
afford
opinion.
one. So we don't have a problem with that. But let me get to Ecological Party of Uganda. We do not have a member of parliament to date, yes.
Neither do you have any member in the local government.
Yes, but failure is part of success. Why? Let me, what is the Ecological Party of Uganda? To understand that, you have to, what are our principles? He talked about JEEMA. I also I know JEEMA, justice and economic, something
justice,
like that. I only took justice and economics. The
other
I don't know. But we are together somewhere. So the JEEMA, I know. Yes. You've not talked about it, but no, there was this. You had the good leader at Makerere University, was
Yusuf Chiranda.
No. You've not.
One of the contestants in 1996.
Yes. Well, but for us, Ecological Party of Uganda is based on the 6 principles, and that's what we are focusing on: ecological wisdom, social justice, participatory democracy, sustainability, non-violence, and diversity. We believe that once we have a society that has all that, then we can, of course there's a lot of social injustice. There is a lot of inequitable distribution of resources, of jobs, of everything. You understand? So when we talk about social justice, we really have to address the issue of injustice. To the extent that people have even come to think that maybe Uganda is their country and it does not belong to others. So they can ask for even let me not just go into that. But we need to change our mindset first and foremost. We need to change our mindset. I learned something from Sweden. I was in Sweden for some time, and I learned something. Yes, you can get certain things by coercion or something like that. But in Sweden or in Europe, when you want to demonstrate, of course it is your right. They will come, they will give you all the security that you need. You say, okay, you want to demonstrate for the whole day? Fine. Police will be there, you do it, when you are done, you go back home. But they never change anything just because you demonstrated. If you want things to change, go for dialogue. 1. Put it on paper, present it to the right forum. Because when you have that write-up, they will get time. But here's a point, wait a moment. You understand? So, why am I saying that? Yes, we need change of power, but we need it in non-violent manner. And we also have to tell our people that we can coexist, and actually our motto is coexistence for sustainable development. You are he's from JEEMA, I'm from Ecological Party of Uganda. We have different political parties, but we can sit together and discuss and kind of stuff. Uganda belongs to all of us. You understand? So that's what we want us to. In around the early 90s, it was impossible for someone like JEEMA to sit with me, or it was like a taboo.
Mr. Bbaale, you're telling us of your aspirations and what kind of society you want to be. But I want to know, practically, what have you put in place to ensure that you achieve the 6 principles you've talked about?
But even recently, of course, fielding candidates is quite expensive. And there is no particular formula that when you have the money, you have to get through. Or you remember the wave, like the recent elections. It was not about, yes, money played a big role, but it was not all about money. I know people whom, I come from Wakiso. And they said, people would say, fete twagala kumanya awali umbrella wokolaki. Just take the umbrella. And you ask people, do you know who you voted for? The answer is no. We are taking, you understand? That was the move as at that time. We fielded 7 aspiring members of parliament, including Chadondo South, Kawempe South, that was Nathan Gahungu. Okay. Kawempe North, Nanyunja, Luuka, we fielded Sowedi. We fielded this, was contesting against Segona, this Busiro East. That was Irene Nasolo, our Secretary General. We had in the north we had about 2 people. Anyway, we had 6. We did not.
You even had one for workers.
Actually, you know what? Because this is what happened when the Electoral Commission cut us off because as a party we had to field a presidential candidate. But you know, the workers, they had the elections for the workers through the non-unionized, that kind of stuff. That comes a little bit later, after nominations. So we said, okay, now much as the Electoral Commission has blocked us, let's go for the workers. But you know, these trade unions and that kind of stuff are highly politicized. So we contested, we went through up to Achiso, and then something happened. But because you go through from level 1 up to the district, and then
it's an electoral college.
Yeah, electoral college. Of course, we do not go beyond that, but at least we did.
You participated in it.
I did participate in Wakiso. So we also had a number of councillors at all levels. We had around, not so many, about 40, but 40 for a start is a good number. And the other issue is the performance. What was their performance? Nathan Gahungu did really well against Bashir and that kind of stuff. And Munyagwa, I think he was like number 3 out of around 11.
Surprisingly, we are using first past the post system.
Yes.
So even if you lose by 2 votes, we don't consider you.
Yes.
Well, I want to ask you this before I switch to him. We have 26 registered political parties.
Yeah.
That brings us to 25 political parties in the opposition.
Yes.
And all these 25 political parties, their day-to-day work is to change the political status quo. Do you have hope that that can happen out of your practical interventions as political parties?
Absolutely. But what the major challenge is, you know, these political parties that we have, they don't have resources. In fact, they are struggling, you understand. Ugandans should also appreciate that we even endeavor to at least stand against the system, that we need the change, because they are so weak. The Ugandans are so weak to stand up. And if the parties have come out to say that, okay, we are here, we are not for NRM, we are opposition political parties, at least that should be appreciated. Because much as you complained, oh, Museveni have overstayed for 40 years, what have you done? What is your role? Is it you don't just come and lament, you do something. For us, what we did was to create a platform for whoever wants. Come, and you don't have to wait for parliament. Come and contest at LC level. Start from there. Go to these communities, to these councils, and do something. We are doing something. We don't have resources. By the way, it's very, very expensive to run a political party, even for 1 month. You must have a heart of diamond to even run a political party. What do we get? But we love our country, and we love change, and we have to stick in there. We have to stick in. Like I told you, for presidential, I got 97 and cleared by the Electoral Commission. I was missing only one. And out of the one district, which was Ruka, we needed 4. We brought 25. We have a lot of forces that we are fighting against. But even getting a single signature for nomination is not a joke.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
Well, that's Mr. Bbaale Charles. He's the party president. He's the president for the Ecological Party of Uganda. And then we also have Mr. Namakajjo Derrick, who is the legal secretary for the Justice Forum, a party known as JEEMA. And these are all politicians who want to see that the politics of this country changes. And of course, they must, just like you've listened to them, they cite issues of funds, and indeed maybe for an average Ugandan you could be able to notice that all these parties need some resources. And the law is very much clear on this, especially on funding political parties. Besides these, the annual monies that come through to support parties in parliament, the law also stipulates that all registered political parties, when it's an election year, they are entitled to an equal share of some amount for them to run and go through that election process.
Has it happened?
I don't know. I don't know. It's you to tell us. Mr. Namakajjo, JEEMA as a party, you've fronted presidential candidates twice.
True.
That is 1996 and 2001. And for all these other times, we have seen you. I want to look for a polite word that. well, for all these other times, we've seen you supporting other candidates. And I don't know whether it's a strategy. I don't know it's because of inadequacy or you do not have candidates. I don't know. Maybe shed more light on this.
When Kenyan politics changed, of us, most Ugandans are then saying, really, Kenya is having mature politics. Am I right? Mm-hmm. When did coalitions and alliances in Kenya start? Around which year? Or years?
I think the common alliances that came through were in the times when Kibaki was during Kibaki, I think.
Mwai Kibaki? But mainly during the years of 2010, 11 around. That's when really we started seeing mature coalitions and alliances in Kenya shaping Kenyan politics. And now we are appreciating. What does it mean? In 2005, JEEMA and other political parties by then which had registered, inclusive FDC, came together in reform agenda. And that was a kind of alliance, if I to recall. We have
I beg your pardon, did you say JEEMA being part of the reform agenda?
I mean, the IPC, sorry. Okay. We have seen the IPCs, sorry, not really. The reform agenda before becoming FDC. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was PAFO and...
PAFO
and parliamentary...
Reform agenda
and
yes.
PAFO, yes.
FDC. So we saw JEEMA taking part in IPC. Mm-hmm. We've seen JEEMA also taking part recently in the People Power.
TDA.
TDA. Right now we are seeing it convening the Red Card Front, People's Front for Transition, the PFT. What does it mean? That as we say that Kenya's politics is mature, but it has become mature because of the spirit of alliance and formation of coalitions. One, to help people not to be confused with the ever debating norm about political parties. You said that we have 26 political parties. So if every Ugandan is to subscribe to each and of the 26 political parties in opposition, will the opposition people take power ever? Because you will not garner the votes you need to oust.
Mr. Namakajjo, I think as a country we have a bad history in that regard. We've had such initiatives, even right from the UPC, Kabaka
yes,
we had even the NRM. It was a formation of the People's Popular Resistance Army,
yes.
And then what was that headed by, I think, Uganda Freedom Fighters. Yes, yes, and then Yusuf Lule to come up with the National Resistance Movement, which was headed by Yusuf Lule and then deputized by.
You see, Mr. Tiff, the challenge
and
you are
all
having.
These are alliances, coalitions of convenience, not really that they have an ideological uniformity.
This is my point. I'm drawing my point. Let me first direct you to the problem we're having as Ugandans. We usually, when analyzing politics, want to debate the bad thing of a person or of a politician of a given party. What have we learned from alliances or coalitions as Ugandans? We learn the bad side. We usually say that they have failed because of this and this, but also what good things have we learned? Let us try to benchmark from Kenya. That's why I'm comparing Kenya. Why is it that Kenya, which appreciated better coalitions from around 2011 to date, is far better compared to Uganda, which started political coalitions in 2005? Is it that we are just big-headed as Ugandans? But you had asked me a question, what has JEEMA really done by not fielding any candidate by then? I'm trying to show you that as JEEMA had seen the benefit in building coalitions, perhaps the spirit of some other people, it has not yet caught up, but also we appreciate the Kenyan politics, that it has hoped in helping Ugandan politicians appreciate the beauty in coalitions. The only challenge that is failing us is one. Political parties have adamantly failed in good faith to benchmark and put in practice what necessitates for a coalition to stay in the country. If I'm to give you an example in Kenya, how coalitions and alliances work, I believe you're a journalist, you know that in Kenya, the moment when you're an alliance, for example, right now the UDA has taken over pending swearing and determination of the petition, right? So if at all the petition is on the side of UDA and it swears in, the moment the alliances collapse in Kenya, what's next? The government is off. And within given days, they have to go back for a rerun in elections. That's how silly as serious coalitions are in Kenya. Two, we have seen also that when the number of MPs, around 100 MPs, resign in Kenya, the government comes to an end. So, regardless of which kind of coalition alliances, they are having good law or good regulation system on coalitions. In Uganda, we only have an alliance being talked about within our laws once. That political parties have a right to form an alliance and register with the Electoral Commission, full stop. But we need to give the real meaning of alliance, the real meaning of coalitions, that when you register a coalition, what's next? The problem is with the good faith of some politicians, the goodwill. As JEEMA, we have tried to build this goodwill in other politicians, that wait, let us do this and this. And the law says that if there is any alliance, proceed to registering it. The problem is perhaps still with some selfish interests. And two, if really these political parties, right now we have FDC, NOP, 7 political parties being represented in parliament. So if indeed the 6 opposite political parties are in good faith of alliances and coalitions, because now all of them have started appreciating that we can't win Mr. Museveni by elections. Most of them have appreciated the fact. So if they can accept that fact, let us first let Mr. Museveni to lead, and let us now first come back to the basics. And one of the basics, my appeal, as I wind up, my appeal, these are the 2 now basics. My appeal is 1, let us come back. You have a good number of MPs. Start advocating for fair laws, to regulate coalitions so that you can enter into alliances which are meaningful. 2, where there is smoke, there has to be fire. We know that. Of recent, we have been seeing smoke that president will be elected by parliament, right? So if Mr. Museveni is going to be elected by a parliament, and you say that your position, what is your support, whatever? My humble appeal, and this is the campaign I've started now. Sorry to go into your time, but if MPs, even let me look this at, if MPs are given an opportunity to elect the president, we shall stop having a say in Uganda. Why? When you read the Constitution, if I'm not mistaken, Article 84, Clause 7, says that you can only recall a member of parliament from parliament when we are still in movement political system. Meaning that as of now, the MPs are the only protected politicians in Uganda and are next to the Son of God, who is Jesus Christ. Even Mr. Museveni is not protected, because if you collect a certain number of signatures of registered voters in Uganda, you can remove Mr. Museveni, but you cannot remove a member of parliament. So
give me your closing shot. My
closing shot and an alternative is, let us strategize and opt to advocate for an amendment of that particular article so that we can have an MP recalled back from parliament.
You have a member of parliament, he can front that before.
Exactly. It's not about my member of parliament, but I want to let the public get to know.
Stand as a vanguard in that.
And the fact that I'm sitting at the alternative Digitalk, I'm letting the public know that there is an alternative option of putting measures on, because if Museveni wants it will pass. If Mr. Museveni is elected by MPs, so let us also see in front by removing that article, and we recall MPs. If we say that we want this one to vote Mr. Tiff as the president, and you vote Mr. Derrick, you can be recalled by your constituents. That is the campaign we need to appreciate, and the alternative option we have as Ugandans. Otherwise, we don't have any other solution in this particular government.
Thank you so much. Mr. Bbaale, I also need to have your very, very last remark.
Well, first and foremost, I want to tell you point blank that
in 1 minute, sir.
Yes, there's no political will to recall an MP. Now, in 1 minute, there's nothing I can tell you. But I want to just thank the management of Digitalk for giving me this opportunity to talk to the Ugandans. As a party, we are not fanatics of alliances unless those alliances we are collating or having an alliance with the party which has the same principles, or within which we believe in the same. Otherwise, we don't just go for alliances for the sake of it.
Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to thank all my panelists for making time out of your busy schedules to be part of tonight's discussion. And then for our viewers, I really thank you so much. Unfortunately, I did not give you an opportunity to call in, neither did I read your messages, and I apologize for that. But let the discussion continue on all our social media platforms. Just keep bringing it, just give the opinions, share whatever you feel like it can contribute to making our country much, much better again. My name is Abdallah Latif. Until Monday again, I wish you a great night, and then we also want to condole with those who have lost their loved ones. I want to thank the team I have worked with, the team in the control room, the producer, today's producer, Bwana Kato. I thank you so much, and have a lovely night, all of you.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.